Hello everybody, and thanks for tuning in as I try to contain my excitement for Age of Empires 4. I've been very lucky to have been given early access to some game assets, which I'll be showing in this video today. We have screenshots, gameplay videos, a look into some of the new civs, and an exclusive interview with some staff from Relic and World's Edge. With these assets and the content revealed during the fan preview, we're able to take a deep dive into the game, and in this video today I want to try and figure out what we can about the greatly anticipated Age of Empires 4. To begin, let's quickly recap what the fan preview has just revealed to us. We got a look at one of the 4 historical campaigns, the Norman campaign, featuring the Battle of Hastings. We were also introduced to the Delhi Sultanate, one of the new civilizations coming with Age 4. Through gameplay footage towards the end of the show, we were also given confirmation that the following civilizations also feature in the game: the English, the Mongols, and the Chinese. And right at the end of the show, we were given a very short and sweet teaser showing a naval army descending upon a coastside fortress. I also loved hearing from the developers as to the practice, priorities, and processes involved in the making of the game. So with that said, let's jump in. First I want to look at gameplay, and in particular the UI, unit and building design, and overall visual impressions. Starting with the UI, we'll first look at this screenshot, which appears to be from a campaign, or perhaps Art of War mission, based on this top left area which shows objectives. Each element that I point out while looking at this image does appear to be consistent with other gameplay screenshots, as we'll see further into the video. The UI elements are the age, shown in Roman numerals at the top of the screen, objectives, which can change depending on the game mode, a panel on the left showing control groups, the resources and population breakdown in the bottom left corner, a selection panel showing a lot of information which we'll look closer into soon, and finally the minimap and associated buttons in the bottom right corner of the screen. What I like about the UI here, as we look through some other examples, is that it's pretty neat looking. It's familiar enough, intuitive, and I don't feel like there's too much clutter. In these screenshots we can see the inclusion of objective directional pointers, which I assume will only be used in campaign missions. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of this. It feels like a step away from experiencing the excitement of exploration that is so important in Age of Empires, and more like the game is holding your hand in a way. The final part of the UI that I want to look into is the selection panel. This part shows some details of the unit or units selected and their options in terms of combat, movement, building, and more. Let's look at this section in the definitive editions of previous Age games, shown here in Age 1, Age 2, and Age 3, and compare that to Age 4. Again, this part of the UI is familiar and intuitive. We can see the building icons are very similar to previous titles, as are the unit control buttons. What I am curious about is the unit data shown here. What we're used to seeing in Age 2 at least is health, melee armor, and pierce armor. The words light and bow don't mean a whole lot to me, and I'm not a fan of the health only being depicted with numbers and not with an accompanying health bar visual. But the big question for me regarding the UI is, can we modify this? If you take a look at the streamers playing Age 2 on Twitch at least, you'll see a huge variety of UI layouts, as people have customized them to suit their own preferences. I think this is great. We saw this option in the game settings of Age 3 too, where players could choose between definitive, classic, and default layouts. Let's now move on to talk about the units and buildings we can see. Throughout the fan preview just shown and the XO19 trailer back in November of 2019, we can see a whole bunch of new and returning units in Age of Empires 4. Now I want to take this moment to mention that anything said and shown in this video is based purely off what has publicly been shown. I want to disclose that yes, I was part of testing in the Community Council, but I didn't actually play the game, so any comments here, particularly about what units we have in the game, is pure speculation. With that said, here's my breakdown of the units shown so far. We have a knight, a mounted lancer, a cavalry unit of some description, and at first I thought these were Tarkans, but throughout the footage shown we can find other units such as infantry units whose weapons are also on fire, so my Tarkan theory kinda went out the window. But here's an archer, another archer, a crossbowman, a unique archer unit maybe, and a mounted archer hero unit. Then we have battle elephants and an elephant archer. I think these are hand cannoneers or similar, a spearman or pikeman, halberdiers, swordsman, and this absolute chat of a unit. Here is a ram which can garrison up to 16 units, siege towers, these are pack trebs, unpacked treb, Uche, and this little guy is called Nest of Bees, which is a field gun / gunpowder unit. Finally, we have monks or priests, and the most important unit, the humble trade cart. Now, as I said, this is all just speculation, and I have no doubt we'll be seeing plenty more units and heaps of new names and new numbers to learn in Age 4. But instead of listening to my rambling, let's now hear from one of the developers of the game, Zach Schlappe, art director at Relic Entertainment, and see what he had to say regarding units and buildings in Age 4.
Was really trying to add a greater, more meaningful diversity in the civilizations, not just a color change or whatever, but really going into the vernacular of the architecture and the iconography in each of the civs, whether it's just the design of the battlements on the scalable walls or the domes or things along those notions. And also really starting to show the evolution of architecture throughout the age and make it meaningful and actually historically relevant, and how to design the buildings around the civilization's mechanics, like the Mongols or the Delhi Sultanate, I think it has a more meaningful sense of diversity, to be quite honest.
As Zach mentioned, there's a big focus on diversity between the civilizations, and this is definitely something that has stood out to me. We can see it most clearly in the architecture of each civ shown, and it's something I really appreciate, as I feel AoE 2 actually lacks this. I know that's a controversial comment, but I honestly struggle to differentiate between the architecture styles in Age 2. I really love how the buildings look here, but if anything, I feel like the stone walls are just huge. They do seem to introduce a new element to the game though, in that they might be scalable and can have the ability for units to guard on top, so we'll see how well that mechanic works and whether it justifies the size of the walls. Now, while hearing Zach speak about the different civilizations in the game has made me want to jump straight into discussing them, that will be happening a little later on. For now, I want to finalize this segment of the video by talking about the overall visual impressions the game has on me. I'm going to go through my thoughts rapid fire style here. Firstly, wow, it is so colourful. It kind of looks like someone took the Spring Colours mod from Age 2, times it by 10, and voila! The player colours are so bright, but I do like how obvious they are in a way. The colours are plastered all over each unit, which I think will eliminate any confusion as to whose units are whose. Secondly, every screenshot or video that I've seen of gameplay looks quite zoomed in. I'm sure this was done just for the sake of getting the footage to show us, but I'm hoping that there's a decent range available as to how much or how little we can zoom in while playing. Finally, I've seen a lot of comments about how the game looks cartoonish. Personally, I don't really see it. Yes, it looks different, as it's a different game, but I'm going into Age 4's release with a pretty open mind, and I'm sure that soon we'll be quite used to the art style of the game, just as we quickly adjusted to the change in the definitive editions as they were released. Moving on, let's have a think about the civilizations in the game. In an interview with PC Games N at XO19, Adam Isgreen, the creative director at World's Edge, did confirm the presence of the English and the Mongols. In a different interview with Games Radar, Isgreen said, "The English intentionally play a lot like what you'd expect of something from a previous Age of Empires game. The Mongols do not. They play completely differently. We have this wonderful spectrum of civilizations, and that's so there's always a super accessible way that people can get into it." Alongside this, the fan preview introduced the Delhi Sultanate, and confirmed that the Chinese will also feature as a playable Age 4 civ. As to the rest, I'm not sure. Isgreen did also note that we should expect fewer than the 13 civilizations that shipped with Age 2, as they're aiming for more uniqueness with each civ rather than quantity. But I did have the chance to virtually sit down with Quinn Duffy, the creative director of Age 4, and he was able to tell me the following.
So we're going to ship with 8 at start, and they're all very different.
Well, there you go, guys. 8 civilizations: English, Mongols, Delhi Sultanate, Chinese, and 4 others. What do you think they'll be, and what do you think these 4 will bring to the table? In the fan preview, we saw a Mongol camp packing up and relocating. We also saw the Norman campaign, so can we expect a Norman or French civilization? All I do know is that we'll soon find out. The official release date of Age of Empires 4 has been announced as fall 2021, so from late September this year at the earliest. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed taking a deeper look into what Age of Empires 4 might have in store for us. After looking into various gameplay elements and reflecting on the visual appearance of the game, as well as considering the confirmed 4 out of 8 civilizations dropping at launch, I can safely say that Age 4 is a title I'm extremely excited for. While I know change can be daunting, and the Age franchise has such a passionate fanbase, I feel that the game is in good hands with Relic and World's Edge, and it's evident to see that they're treating the game with care and honouring its past while defining its future. Of course, it all comes down to how it feels to actually play the game, and I know that for each person who is excited for its release, there's another person who's skeptical. This is simply the nature of new game releases, especially for games that have such a rich history like the Age of Empires franchise. I want to leave you with one final thing that I noticed in the fan preview footage, which I think needs recognition. Units have diverse skin colours. This is so important. Representation in gaming still has a long way to go, but changes like this are big steps in the right direction, and I'm so happy to see the Age franchise taking those steps again and again. Anyway, it is time. Thank you all so much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video, and if you enjoyed it too, chuck it a like and make sure to subscribe because there's more yet to come. If you want to connect with me, my socials are listed in the description below. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts on the game are. Are you excited? Are you skeptical? I want to hear it all. 14.